think it's safe to say that over the last few years, I've covered most of the things that you can do on the iPhone, but there are still things that catch me off guard from time to time. Hidden settings or features that I didn't know about, which I think a lot of people would find really useful. So in this video, I'm going to share 10 features of the iPhone that I reckon most people have no idea about. Okay, let's get into it. You probably already know about Shazam. It's technology that Apple acquired a number of years ago that listens to music and identifies it for you. Usually when people talk about Shazam, they show it in situations where you're out at a bar or somewhere in public and you want to identify a piece of music that's playing on a sound system. But I reckon for most people nowadays, you hear music on social media, maybe playing in the background of an Instagram reel or a TikTok, and you like the song and you want to know what it is. Well, Shazam can do this for you. To do this, first of all, find the social media post with the music that you want to identify. Then activate Siri on your phone and ask, what song is this? The music playing in the social media post will stop and Siri will begin listening because it assumes that you want to identify music that's playing in your environment. So with Shazam still open and running, tap to begin playing the sound in the social media post. Your iPhone should recognize that you're trying to identify music from social media instead and will begin listening out for it. Now, in order for this to work, your phone ups the volume of the audio without you doing anything. I think it goes pretty much to the highest volume level, so keep this in mind, especially if you're doing this in public. But some 10 or 15 seconds later, you should get an answer to your question, and if you're an Apple Music subscriber, it will even include a link that you can tap on to take you through to the Apple Music page. Oh, and a bonus tip for this one. Did you know that if you long press on the Shazam button in Control Center, it will show you your identification history. So if you used it to identify a song yesterday, but then forgot all about it, this is how you could get that information back. Here's a Safari article that I want to share with somebody. So I tap on the share button at the bottom of the page, choose messages, and select the person that I want to send this to using iMessage. You can see that in the body of the message that I'm going to send a formatted link to the article. But what if there's a specific passage that I want to draw someone's attention to when I share it? Instead of just going to the share button at the bottom of the screen, what I do is use my finger to tap and hold on the text for a moment, and then use the drag cursors to select the passage of text. Once the text is selected, tap the share button at the bottom of the screen and repeat the same steps as before to share this page via iMessage. But you can see that when I do it this time, it not only includes a formatted link to the article, but also includes a quoted section just above with the passage of text that I'd selected that the person can read right here in the message. Our photo libraries are probably the most personal part of our phones, so it would make sense that you want to keep your photo library as secure as you can. One way that you can do this is by hiding specific photos from your main photo library. So let's say that this image, for example, is an image that we want to hide. With the image, I would tap the ellipsis button in the upper right of the screen and choose Hide. When the prompt appears on your screen asking you to confirm, you would do so, and just like that, the photo is hidden and will not be visible in your main photo library. To access it, you would go to the main page of your Photos app, tap on Albums at the bottom of the screen and scroll all the way to the bottom of this page. Here, there is a hidden album showing under Utilities. Tap into this and use either Face ID or Touch ID, depending on what kind of phone you have, to unlock the album. Your hidden photos are visible in here, and if you change your mind about anything, simply open it, tap the ellipsis in the upper right of the screen and choose Unhide. You can even take this a step further by opening Settings, scrolling down until you get to the Photo settings, and there is an option to toggle off Show Hidden Album. If you disable this, the hidden album still exists, it just isn't visible in the Photos app. If you wanted to access it in the future, you would need to enable the option in here, giving you that extra layer of privacy if you really need it. Following on from the previous tip, if you're really paranoid about people viewing your photos, you can take things a step further still by creating an automation where every time that you open the Photos app on your iPhone, your phone immediately locks and can only be opened using Face ID or Touch ID. This could be useful if you're someone that leaves your phone unlocked quite often and there are any apps that you don't want people opening up. I would of course recommend that you instead get into the habit of locking your phone when you're not using it, but I will show you this anyway. Open the Shortcuts app and tap on Automation in the middle of the bar at the bottom of the screen. Tap the plus button in the upper right of the screen to create a new personal automation. In the search bar at the top, type in App and then select the App option. In the window that appears, tap into where it says Choose and select Photos from the list. Press the button in the upper right corner of the screen. We want this automation to run whenever the Photos app is opened, so make sure that Is Opened is selected. Select Run Immediately at the bottom of the screen and don't enable Ask Before Running. Press the Next button in the upper right of the screen. On the next page, tap into the new blank automation area. On this page, tap the Add Action button and in the search box, search for Lock Screen. Select it from the scripting options that appear, press the Done button in the upper right of the screen, and the automation has been created. To show you that this works, I'll now open the Photos app and you can see that my phone screen immediately locks. In order to be able to unlock the phone and access my photo library, I would need to use Face ID or Touch ID, whatever it is that your phone is set up with. Once you've done this, you'll be able to use the Photos app as usual until you come out of the Photos app into another one or until you lock your phone. Doing either of these would then reset the automation. It is quite an intense level of protection for your photo library, but if this is something that you think would be useful, at least you now know how to do it. And keep in mind, when we set this up, we created this for the Photos app, but you could do this for any number of apps that you like. The process is identical. You would just choose a different app at the stage of the automation when we chose the Photos app instead. On the subject of keeping your photo library secure, let's talk passwords for a moment. So you store your passwords on your iPhone, but what if you don't just use Apple devices? Maybe you've also got an Android phone or tablet, or a Windows PC, or a mixture of everything. Or what if you want to securely store more than just login details? Maybe you want to store things like credit card details, scans of important files, notes, or any other digital content that you need to keep secure. That's where Keeper Security comes in. You might be surprised to know that despite this channel being primarily about Apple, I do own and use both an Android phone and a Windows laptop from time to time. There's nothing more frustrating than having a password stored on my iPhone and having to sit and type it out on my Android phone. I never have to do that again thanks to Keeper. No matter what device I'm using, there is going to be an app for it, and I can access everything in my secure vault at the touch of a button, and I only have to remember one master password. I can also use it to create random high-strength passwords instantly and share them with other people securely, all from within the app. You get unlimited password storage and access on unlimited devices. Plus, if any of your credentials ever end up on the dark web, their Breachwatch service will let you know so that you can take immediate action to protect yourself. And look, if you want more social proof than me telling you how much I like Keeper, they have more than 275,000 5-star ratings across the app stores. That's a lot of people that can't be wrong. If this sounds good to you, check out the link in the description of this video because Keeper is giving my viewers 50% off with promo code PROPER50, or try it free for 30 days. So why not get started? The search tool in your iPhone's photo library is one of the most powerful but underused features of the phone. Honestly, most people that I speak to don't use this because they have no idea just how powerful it is. You can search for keywords like car or beach to find photos that contain either of those things. You can search using words like spring or summer, or you could type in the phrase 1 year ago and your phone will return photos taken around this period 1 year prior. And whilst it might sound obvious, the same does work for phrases like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 3 months ago, or 6 months ago, so you can use this to get really nostalgic if you wish. You can even search for words like clapping or cheering to find videos that contain that sound. But as the chapter mentions, you can also use this to identify all of the pictures that you took with a specific camera. For example, I could type in iPhone 14 Pro or iPhone 13 Pro, and my iPhone library would group together all of the relevant photos and videos. But I could also type in OM1 and my library would return all of the pictures that I've captured using my OM Systems camera. I sometimes shoot with a Sony a7 IV, and for that, I could simply type in Sony, and it's this Sony ILC-E7M4 option that groups all of the images that are captured using that camera together. It's a cool feature, and what I like about it is that you don't have to do anything with your photos to make this work. This is all just information that gets added to them in the background, and it's then immediately searchable. Here's a screenshot of an article that I've captured, and you probably already know that if you tap into it immediately after you've captured it, you can edit it using markup. One of the pens at the bottom of the screen is a highlighter, and of course what most people want to use this for is to highlight a passage of text. The problem is, when you try to do this using your finger, unless you've got an extremely steady hand, the highlight is not going to be very neat. So did you know that when you do the highlights, if you keep your finger pressed on the screen for a second at the end of the highlight, your iPhone will automatically neaten it up for you. And if it isn't quite where you wanted it to be, you would simply tap to choose the selection tool, circle around it to select it, and then you can drag and move it to exactly where you need it in your article. I've shown this one many times before, but just to point out as well, if I tap on a pen and draw a circle and then hold at the end of the circle, my iPhone will draw a perfect circle for me. This works for most of the major shapes as well. Focus mode and do not disturb are both methods of limiting how people can contact you when you're trying to focus on getting work done on your phone. However, there are certain people in your life who you may want to allow to override that no matter what. There is a setting that you can enable to do this, but it's hidden away in a really weird part of the ecosystem. So if you go into the Contacts app and find a contact that you would like to enable this for, tap the edit button at the top of the screen and scroll down until you see ringtone. Tap into this option, and at the top of the screen, there is a toggle called emergency bypass. Toggle this on and you can see that this person will be able to override any settings that you have for disabling sounds and haptics on your device. The good thing about this though was that when I tested this, this wasn't able to override sounds if you have your phone set to silent mode. All it would do is allow someone to still set off your phone screen and haptics, regardless of whether you have your phone set to do not disturb or not. A handy feature to use for the most important people in your life who you always want to be able to contact you no matter what. By the way, if you prefer to have content like this in a written format, there's a PDF version of this video, complete with screenshots, and you can access it along with all other PDFs I've created, plus future ones for just $5 a month. You can either scan the QR code that you can see on screen, or follow the link in the description of this video to learn more. If you go to Settings and then Control Center, make sure that screen recording is included in the Included Controls section of your Control Center menu. If it isn't, find it down at the bottom of the screen where it says More Controls, and tap the green button to add it. Now you can swipe down to access the control center on your phone and tap the record button to begin capturing a screen capture. This is where your iPhone will capture a video of what you're doing on your screen, which you can then send to someone else. But I reckon more often than not, if you want to capture your screen, it's because you're trying to show someone how to do something. And in that case, you would want to include some kind of commentary to explain what you're doing. So in this instance, when you're in the control center, instead of tapping the record button, tap and hold for just a second. You can then tap the microphone button at the bottom of the screen to enable the microphone while capturing your screen recording. You would simply hit the start recording button to begin your recording, and as you record what you're doing on your screen, just speak to capture a voiceover. Once you've enabled it, it is on by default, so remember this the next time that you screen record. But here's a bonus tip. In content creation, we always say that it's better to capture everything and delete what you don't need than fail to capture something that you later want. So you could instead leave the microphone setting permanently on. But then let's say that you've just captured a video which now has you speaking in the background and you want to remove the audio before you share it. Tap the edit button, then tap the speaker button in the upper left of the screen. This mutes the audio on this video, and if you then share it, the audio can't be switched back on by the person that you send it to. Live photos get a lot of hate, but I actually think they can be quite fun. Something I want to do from time to time is to create a GIF from a live photo to then send to people. There's a ready-made shortcut in the Shortcuts app that you can download to do this in a matter of seconds. Open the Shortcuts app and tap on the gallery in the bottom right corner of the screen. In the search bar, type GIF. The shortcut that you want is called Make GIF, so tap the plus button to add this to your shortcuts. Tap on Shortcuts in the bottom left of the screen and you can see that the Make GIF shortcut is ready for you to use. Tap on it, and what's great is that the shortcuts will automatically condense the resulting images down to only live photos or videos, which is what you can use to create GIFs with this shortcut. Simply tap the one that you want to create a GIF from it. With live photos, because these are essentially very short videos, this should be an immediate process. With videos, you may find that you get the trim option at the top of the screen, where you'll need to move the left and right cursors closer together to find part of the video that you want to turn into a GIF. Remember that GIFs are only supposed to be a few seconds long at most, so keep this in mind when selecting the part of the video that you want. When you're happy, choose Save, and then press Done on the preview of the GIF as long as you're happy with it. If you select a bunch of photos or videos in the Photos app and then press and hold for a second on one of the selected items, you'll see that in the contextual menu that appears, you can choose Slideshow. This is exactly what it sounds like. Your phone will quickly create a slideshow for you from the items that you've selected. If you tap on the screen, you'll see that there is a pause button at the bottom and there's also an options button. Tap on this and you can change the theme, which includes things like transitions. You can change the music, which also includes access to your music library, whether you would like the items to repeat, and you can set the speed of transition between them. Annoyingly, you can't save this as a video and share it like you can with a memory, but you can AirPlay this to an Apple TV or any AirPlay enabled device. Interestingly, look at what happens if we do this with live photos. Now, in order for this to work, the live photos have to be unedited live photos. This won't work if you try to include a live photo that you've turned into a bounce or a long exposure, for example. But if I select a few live photos and then tap and hold on one of the selected items, you can see that I have an option to make a video from them called Save as Video. The created video will then show in your Recents folder. So there you go, 10 things your iPhone can do that I bet you didn't know about. What do you reckon? Anything that should have been included in this list? Drop me a comment and let me know. And as ever, if you found this video useful, do please consider leaving me a like and subscribing to my channel for more content like this in the future. See you on the next video.